We are discussing the white paper on the future of Europe. Has anyone heard about it? Google it. You'll see a few articles from around the world. In the top 10 is the Longford Leader and the Roscommon People. Now, this is about our future. It's about where Europe will be in 2025. No one is talking about it. It's like as if it doesn't matter. But what will the consequences be? Ye need to discuss this, because the choices are carrying on as we are. Are we going to do that? No, we're not. It's not working the way it is. The second one is nothing but the single market. Many countries might like that, other countries wouldn't. The third is those who want to do more, do more. The fourth is do less more efficiently. And the fifth is do much more together. And if the country was properly engaged, this has been going on since March the 1st. There's meant to be a series of Future of Europe debates. Where are they? No one seems to be able to tell me where they are. And it's important we talk about this, because doing much more together, according to the document, not my words, means full engagement with NATO. That's what it means. Now, I know which options I prefer to go with. I prefer to go with option 3. We need a debate in Irish politics, in the Dáil, in the Shannon, on our airwaves about what the other political parties' preferred options are, because we do not know. I have done a tour of all the local radio stations in the country, not the national, no chance they'd want to talk about it, and each and every one of them says to me, we'll go out and ask our politicians what their opinion on it is. I haven't heard anything since. I'd love to know what that opinion is. And that's why it's so important to engage. It was important to engage last year to celebrate the 100 years. But it is even more important now to engage to make sure we don't sleepwalk, if that's what we don't want to do, into a United States of Europe. Some people were called conspiracy theorists when they come out with this in the past, but it's down in black and white on the white paper on the future of Europe, and we need to talk about it. It means, from the point of view of our budgets, it will mean in Ireland we'll be in the same situation that I was in on Roscommon County Council. We'll get a block grant centrally decided, and we will have to take it or leave it. Maybe people might like that. Maybe the majority of people might think that's a wonderful idea. We don't know, because we haven't consulted with them. I have asked a series of people, where is this going to take place? I have asked Phil Hogan at the launch of the White Paper on the Future of Europe. He suggested I do it, or the MEPs do it. Grand. I asked our Minister for European Affairs. He reckoned that it would be a divisive process. Not very hopeful, really. I asked Jean-Claude Juncker last week, 10 foot away from me, where was the process? He couldn't tell me. 2 days later, in the plenary in the Parliament, I asked Donald Tusk. We're a country with 88% support for the EU. You'd imagine we'd be only delighted to do this. What did Donald Tusk say? He didn't answer the question. So all of this is going on now. We need to know about it. We definitely need to know about it. And the best way to know about it is we come in here more often and we engage with you. But maybe someone can tell me where this process is going to take place, because here's the news. By September, it goes back to the European Parliament. They will have discussed with us at that stage. They will have, in their own words, quote unquote, harvested our opinions. It sounds like something from that sci-fi V, but they will have harvested our opinions. But by September, they won't be doing that anymore. Tick-tock. We've 3 months left. It's time we engaged. I am a sceptic. I ask questions. I'm proud to say that. I want to work with our European neighbours. But I'd like people to engage in what that means. What does it mean when 88% say they're in favour of the EU? Does it mean they want their kids to end up in a European army? Does it mean they don't want budgets? What does it mean? We need to know that, because it's kind of important. Thank you.
Luke is right on this point. There isn't a single Irish journalist who concentrates on European Parliament activities. Not a single Irish journalist. So you're members of the Oireachtas here. You can imagine how, and I'm sure there's times when you as elected representatives become frustrated that the good work you're doing on committees or in the Shannon or in the Dáil isn't getting picked up. Can you imagine a scenario where there wasn't a single journalist who was actually based here. In fact, the only time they showed up was when a foreign speaker was here or something along those lines. So the media in Ireland have a role to play in order to ensure that we do engage with people.
Taking up the point of MEP Luke Ming Flanagan, obviously the Commission published the White Paper on the 1st of March. And as he rightly said, there are 5 options being considered. Now, I understand that there are to be 6 reflection papers as well on all sorts of issues, developing the social dimension of Europe, deepening the economic and monetary union on the basis of the 5 President's report of June 2015, harnessing globalisation, the future of Europe's defence and the future of EU finances. So I'm just wondering, is there any sign of those reflection papers being published, given the timeline that you have outlined to us there? But in relation to the option of a multi-speed Europe, or indeed those who want to do more, of option 3, as you said there, it would seem that Germany, France, Italy and Spain are particularly pursuing that particular agenda, and that certainly must raise some sort of alarm bells for us. Such a multi-speed Europe could involve increased cooperation on defence matters, as you said, cooperation in security and justice matters, and closer cooperation on taxation and social matters. So I do think we need to have a debate here in this country about the future of Europe. Obviously, this has come to a head with the Brexit vote and the realisation, I think, by many that there is alienation from the European Union among many people. So this debate is very timely. It would seem to me that it might be in Ireland's interest to have a multi-speed Europe, because there will be some things that we wouldn't like in relation to the other member states pressing ahead, but maybe that will leave us behind. It started off as a partnership of member states, of equal partners of member states, and are we going to move away from that? And then there's also the other option of the future integration of the European Union. I don't think there will be much support among the Irish public for future integration of the European Union, and I think Ms McCarthy mentioned that there's going to be a treaty change. Well, I wouldn't like to be going to sell a referendum to the Irish people on further integration. So I agree that this is a debate that we need to have. I think this committee of the Dáil and Shannon needs to discuss that in the coming weeks.
The White Paper. I agree with Ming. We need to be discussing this because it's out there. Sean, you asked about some of the reflection papers. The one on globalisation, we actually discussed it last week, the week before last, in the Parliament. I spoke on it. There does need to be a discussion about it. I think it needs to be a reasonable discussion, that we look at all of the options, and people will have various options, but within the next year, 2 years, we could be on that road. We may or may not be, but we could. And this Parliament needs to discuss it as well.
On the general point about the future of Europe, people are talking about the future of Europe in Ireland. One of the scenarios that is not in this paper is disintegration. And don't underestimate that disintegration can happen by accident or design. So Brexit has been a wake-up call. It is making people understand actually where Europe works, and also charging us with the responsibility to fix where it's not working. So I do think it is an opportunity. But people that I meet are talking about Europe. The White Paper is not about picking an option and running with it. It's about opening a debate. And I think that debate happens everywhere. I don't know if it should be structured. I'm certainly having meetings with people about it all the time, and I think others are doing that as well. And I don't think it will be a case of we pick 3 or 4. It will be pieces of each. But the first question we have to answer is, do we believe that the concept of Europe is worth defending, protecting and fixing? And if we do that, then we can work towards solutions, taking into account that other countries might have different views, but we can work together to find a solution that moves us in a direction that hopefully is more positive.
I'm just a bit worried about this whole thing of we have now been designated as a special case and we're a special case, because the last time the European institutions designated us as a special case, we ended up with tens of billions of debt. And some people would like to say that that disappeared into thin air. It didn't. It's still there. And as a result of our special case in the last 2 years, we borrowed €6 billion. What did we spend it on? We didn't spend it on anything. We eviscerated it, we got rid of it, it no longer exists. So I think we need to be wary about the special case status, because if a dog in my estate bites one of the kids, he's lucky to get a second chance. We've been more than bitten here. We have been devoured. So we'd want to be wary of the whole special case thing. In relation to, it was asked, I think by Frank O'Rourke, about the position of other MEPs. I presume you meant on the future of Europe. Well, whatever about the position of MEPs, one particular MEP, Guy Verhofstadt, who is the lead negotiator on behalf of the European Parliament, he's quite clear. Option 5 wouldn't really go far enough. He'd want to be sitting down beside you, telling you what you were eating for your dinner. That's the sort of Europe that he wants. So that is kind of where it's inclined to go. Jean-Claude Juncker was clear enough at our group meeting where he wanted to go. Emmanuel Macron is quite clear where they want to go. They all want to go with further integration. Maybe people might think that's a wonderful thing, but we have to have the debate on it. And I'll finish by saying this. I had already tried to establish when the discussion on the future of Europe was going to come about by asking Phil Hogan, by asking Jean-Claude Juncker, by asking Donald Tusk, by asking our Minister for European Affairs, and each and every one of them couldn't really tell me much about these future of Europe debates. Now, this is what we were promised. We were promised that to encourage the debate, the European Commission, together with the European Parliament and interested member states, will host a series of future of Europe debates across Europe's cities and regions, engaging with national parliaments, local and regional authorities and civil society at large. Having attempted to establish when and where these are going to take place, I'm on the verge of giving up, because no one who should know about it knows anything about it. And whether you're in favour of option 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5, we have to have this discussion. I have to have it because in the future, my kids are going to be living in this future Europe. I'll be an old person in that future Europe, and I want it to be the best possible future of Europe for people. But if we're not going to discuss it, and we're going to be afraid of it, and we're going to run away from it, I can only conclude that it's not going to be good for us. And if a country that supposedly is 88% in favour of the European Union, it terrifies me that even a country like ours, we're afraid to discuss it. If we're that much in favour of it, we shouldn't only be not afraid to discuss it, we should be hearing when the dates of the meetings are, as opposed to hearing now from the Vice President of the European Parliament that really, there's nothing really going to happen. You're having your own private meetings. This needs to be held out in public, not in the dark. And remember one thing about the European Union. Do not mix up correlation with causation. You would swear that if we didn't join the European Union in 1973, the iPhone would never have been invented. We'd still be driving around in 20 diesel tractors. No, we wouldn't. Things would have changed. We had peace before Nice. Remember that. And remember, we have a lot more peace than we do now. And next time you say there's been no wars on the European continent, have a little bit of respect for the people who lived in the former Yugoslavia. I think you can call it a war. God knows there was enough blood.
The meetings I referred to were not private. They're open meetings, and we have great discussions about many things, including the future of Europe. But I would suggest, Cathaoirleach, if I may, that this committee should write to the Commission office in Dublin and find out exactly, as has been requested by a colleague MEP, about the consultation process. And then we'll get information, because this should be closed off. If the meetings are being held, we should know the dates. If not, we continue, or I rather, I'll speak for myself, will continue to do what I do, which is engage in public.